Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, the markets have revived themselves. Of course, we have to see how the weekly candles close to get more confirmation, but overall, right now, it is looking solid. Something like Turbo has pumped roughly 20% in the last day, and Bitcoin has gone up roughly 10%. It's gone up 8 to 10K, and it is looking really, really good, ladies and gentlemen, right? So today we are going to be obviously talking about Turbo. Look, I talked about how potentially, the book is coming out, and in fact, the book will be coming out, which I'm super, super excited to read. And now there's talks about Turbo shoes, okay? So listen here, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of this? Personally, I am super, super optimistic as long as it's done the right way. You know, um, Pretty much what I mean is the quality must be good. Okay, the quality must be good, and if it's something cheap that no one really wants to wear out in public because it just seems like there's a sticker on it, then I don't think this is going to be the best thing ever. I do think it would still be worth the try, but ultimately I think people would be disappointed if this was just kind of like a sticker. Like, sometimes how we have a shirt that has just a random picture on it, like kind of like a square. It just looks like whatever, you know. But then we have actual nice art and design on a shirt that's not just clearly a photo pasted on a shirt, right? There's a huge, huge difference. And the same thing with this, right? I don't need the shoes to be, next level thing, next level material and next level limited edition this or, looking like this or that. They just have to be something good where you would actually want to wear them either every day or often, right? So I believe, this is a very, very good idea for Turbo to pull off, especially if they will, actually want to make it proper. Now, for me, the only recommendation, like I said, I have is finding that balance between, making it affordable and having good quality. Okay. I believe if you can find that middle ground, I believe this coin, or sorry, these shoes will sell nice. I personally would be looking to buy them, right? Because why not? This frog is absolutely cute. If this frog makes me X amount of money, I don't mind representing this coin, right? Plus, like I said, if it's good design and it's a good material and it's just simply not a sticker on shoes, I'm all for it, ladies and gentlemen. So that is the big thing I wanted to talk about. Turbo. People are overall happy with this. I think there would be a good amount of people purchasing, right? We have some merchandise that you can purchase in terms of shirts. You could buy some stickers, the books coming out and the shoes came out. I'm telling you, we would be the next level thing. And, all of this stuff, right? Getting listed on exchanges, doing collaborations, diving into different narratives, having a book, shoes, everything is just gonna make us pump harder in the long term. And it is going to pretty much solidify us having, you know, a better chance at getting listed at Robinhood. So I think we are going to get listed on Robinhood anyways, but I do believe, there's always that small chance that we don't, like less than 3% chance. I really, really do think it's inevitable just because the amount of crap coins that are on Robinhood that where you could debate where Turbo is much, much better. So you know, now that we got that out the way, let's dive into the technical analysis, ladies and gentlemen. So pretty much we can see that, especially if we go into hourly, we can see we have a huge, huge, nice order block over here, which we did tap into. We start to put break structure to the upside, and we gained super, super big momentum earlier today. Now we are playing this like a game of ping pong. Remember, that's what a lot of trading is. That's what a lot of structure is bouncing off from area to area. So we had, our double bottom. We started to go up. We, pretty much tapped into the 0.001715 area. and then now we're selling off. I do expect some type of pullback. Now, here's the deal, right? Is it probable that we get a bigger correction and pullback, roughly of, let's just say 10% or so, 5 to 10%? I think that's likely, right? If we take it from this top, take this measuring tool, do something like this to here, like 8.5%. I think that is likely. Also, though, there's that chance where, if we are super, super bullish, which depends on Bitcoin dominance, depends on Bitcoin, depends on everything, more external factors than necessarily Turbo itself, then we could kind of just consolidate, drop, just 2, 3%, 4% max, and then kind of break out before we start consolidating again. Now, this to me, right, if we have something like this, would be very, very, very bullish. Okay. Very, very bullish. But for me to even consider that, I have to mainly look at the big boy himself. So we can see right now with Bitcoin, Bitcoin is at a crucial, crucial area. In terms of a daily close, things are looking great. Okay. Things are looking great. Right now, we are pretty much at a very, very big support zone, one of the most relevant ones we've had in a while. Now, there is a decent chance where we go back down to roughly 79k, 80, 79k before we bounce up higher, right? Because we do have this daily order block right over here. So getting a retest into this order block to continue to go higher is a good probable opportunity and something that can happen. Also, what can happen is if we are overall more bullish, then we can just kind of chill around this 81 to 82k area. And if we start going a little bit above it and start closing, it is going to look really, really good, especially if we actually would eventually see some kind of manipulation wick like this, a very, very quick recovery to the upside, and then something just like that, right? So obviously, we have to see how everything plays out. We do have a couple of days for the weekly candles to be closing. They were bearish at first, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Because we did open, kind of, kind of poor, right? We kind of opened poor. Sunday was, pretty poor. Monday, Tuesday was kind of also poor. And then it was Wednesday that pumped really hard. And Thursday is looking good right now. Okay, so if this candle does become a nice rejection candle, a nice wick, a sweep of pretty much going into this imbalance, sweep of the weekly candle, the monthlies, the quarterlies, then we could very well start seeing a potential momentum shift. We know liquidity is going to be coming to the markets, which means, ladies and gentlemen, Turbo will start pumping too. In terms of Turbo higher time frame, listen, daily looked beautiful. Okay, daily looked beautiful, but we need to see how the rest of the week plays out. We need to see how the weekly candle closes. Not only that, but even if the weekly candle closes higher, right? We have to make sure that we don't just drop down right away. I will say, if we do get a very, very good weekly candle close, let's say by the end of the week, we close, we're up like 35 to 40%, even if we are almost back at 0.002, that very may well still be an indication that we are reversing, just because if we did have a very big candle that's gone up 40% in a week, the last time we had something like that was months ago at this point, right? Probably early December. And before that, let's see how big this was. At one point it was at 55%, but it closed at 33%. So, the price action matters. We have to see the strength of the candle when the time comes. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be patient. Overall, great time to be dollar cost averaging, like I did myself, like people in my community did. So that is all for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.